Thanks, Coach Bandstra, again for having me on to talk about our football program. Today I'm going to talk about our base buck for you wing T guys, and then something I think that's a little unique to us, but something I've pretty much used at every level since I've been calling offense with all my systems, our check system with our buck. So again, there's my email. You guys can email me if you have any questions after this. I will give all my stuff to you. We also have some cut-ups that go with this that are really nice. So here we go. Just a little bit of my bio. West Aurora is a suburb. Aurora is a suburb right outside of Chicago. I was hired to coach football at West Aurora in 2011. I'm an alum. Our first year we went 8-19. First 3 years. In the past 6 years we went 3 since doing the wing T, and we made the playoffs for the first time in 20 years in 2015. And we also won our first playoff game. Later on. In over 20 years for the first time in 2018. A little bit about West Aurora. We're a big school. We're very diverse. Low income. The only reason I bring that up is I know there's a lot of guys out there, you're wondering, like, does your school look like ours? Is it something that should fit our school? And it doesn't necessarily mean that, but it's just something about West Aurora, just so you can understand the type of school that we are. I always do this with all my clinic talks. Just kind of a note to all you aspiring head coaches, current head coaches, and just and my message here is hang in there, stay humble. You can see our records since being here. That is since the start. So in 2011, we went 4-5. Then we went 3-6, all the way down to 1-8. And then in the 2014 season, we had actually lost 12 football games in a row before we pulled it off. And then you can kind of see, the success that we've had during that 5-year run. And then last year, we kind of got humbled. We went 2-7, and we lost, I think 3 or 4 of those games by about 12 points or 14 points combined. But you can see, you just always got to stay humble, hang in there, year to year, keep believing in what you're doing. Because some years you're going to have great years and some years you aren't. That's just kind of how it goes. Why am I talking about our buck play? And I say for 5 sessions, sorry about that. That's from Glacier Clinic. But the reason I'm talking about our buck plays from 2017 to 2019, we averaged almost 7 yards a carry running buck. In 2019, we averaged close to 5 yards a carry in our 7 games versus some of the best teams in the state. And since 2017, we've had 0 D1 or D2 offensive linemen and just 1 Division I running back. So it's definitely something we think we do well in our program. A couple of things as I go through this that you're probably going to want to know. We're kind of an old school numbering system. So we start all the way to the right, and we call it a 1, and then our tight end's a 2, and our tackle's a 3, our right guard's a 4, our center's a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and down. And then our positions. And sometimes I'll actually call those right wing and left wing, but you have a right half and a left half. We do not have a wing and a halfback, and you'll see why here in a little bit. We call our wide receivers our split ends, tight end's a tight end, and then sometimes we still kind of go back and forth, but you'll hear me sometimes talk about the 3 tackle, the 4 guard, the 5 center, the 6 guard, and the 7 tackle. Why did we go to this? This is kind of an interesting story, but I think unique to our program. One of the reasons we decided this is that we used to, when I joined the staff, when I became the head football coach, I was 27 years old, and I had a lot of coaches on our staff who had been offensive coordinators before. So obviously they all had their ideas about, this is the 2-hole, no, the head up the guard is the 2-hole, all the right of the guard is the 2-hole, and all these things. So one of the reasons we went to the system is I wanted to blow it up. I wanted to start over and get us all in a common language, all the way from our varsity staff down to we have middle school football into our middle schools. And I do think it has paid big dividends. It's something that I had to learn, but it's just something for you guys. If you're starting out a program and you feel like, you're kind of lost on where to start and everybody's got all these ideas, how to bring them all together. Sometimes it's good to blow it up and just start something new. So just kind of our story about how our numbering system and wing T came about. Here's the formations that you'll see, the right and the left formation. That we'll run some out of, so you hear me refer to that. Here's our spread right and spread left. You'll also hear me refer to that. So again, if you go back, guys, our right, just tight end and right halfback are in a tight end wing position, split into the left. Left is the opposite of that. Spread, the wing goes with the split end. And the halfback is back behind where the tackle. Here's our end over, which you'll see us in some. This is our, we cover up our tight end. We've also done some things where the tight end is actually an extra tackle, and we put the tight end on the backside. I'm sure you guys have seen things like that. So just some formations that you'll see as we go through this and we talk about. Okay, our golden rules for run and buck. You have to protect the A-gaps. Backs need to get vertical. Okay, we don't want people bouncing. We don't want to stretch to the sideline. At some point, you got to get behind your guard and you got to hit vertical. Our guards have to find a way to get through. They cannot get hung up as they are pulling, okay? Because when we talk about number 4 on this play in buck, penetration is going to happen. People are going to shoot gaps. They're going to angle. They're going to slant. That is okay as long as we can run around them, okay? The better the edge, the better the play. If I would tell you one thing that we have learned that we struggled with last year, I actually told my coaches, we don't need to play with a tight end this year. We can play with a kid that, is just okay at blocking. And I'm going to tell you, I was wrong. Okay. You have to get a tight end that will down block. You have to have wings that will commit to blocking. If not, you need to find a way to get those kids to do that. The better the athlete, the better the play. It doesn't necessarily have to be a true running back, because on this buck, there's not really a lot of cutback. I know sometimes you do from time to time, and you'll see kids kind of go the other way. But at the end of the day, you're really just trying to teach your kid to get behind the guard and hit that seam and go. Points we learned over our buck, I kind of just talked about this. You can't cheat the tight end. Our fire block needs more drill work. Our guards need to get through and understand this. And then just cleaning up the center and the fullback responsibilities. So just things that we learned over especially the last year when we struggled, that we learned over this past year. All right, West Aurora wing T vocabulary. Fire block, which I'm going to go into more depth, that's what we call our down block. Okay, one of the big things about a fire block, though, if nobody shows, gets vertical, and blocks somebody, one of my biggest pet peeves, and this is just a simple thing I say to my kids all the time, if we're running a run play and you don't block somebody, you did something wrong. Don't tell me, nobody was in that spot, I don't know what to do. Go find somebody and hit somebody, okay? You can see the halfback, the fullback lines up directly behind the quarterback at 3.5 yards. The split end is your wide receiver. And then you'll see things like PS, which is play side, and BS, which is backside. Okay, our fire block. And this is usually easier told when I am standing up and I can show you, which I'm not going to do on this video, but it is a down block. So as you can see in the top left-hand corner there, that's a simple one, right? That kid is head up to inside the guy inside of, or head up to outside the guy inside of him. He down blocks and he blocks him, okay? The right top box, that guy is head up. Yes, that is his when we call fire. That is who you need to get, okay? That needs to be a flat step down the line, and that would be your guy, okay? The bottom left block is what I'm talking about when we are going to take, okay, 1, 2, 3 steps. Nobody shows. We'll now get vertical. Because again, one of the keys on buck is that we want to create a wall. Okay, we want to create a wall. We want to have a kick out, and we want to get our guard through. Okay. And then the bottom right box is the one that especially our lower level kids have struggles with, is like, well, coach, you guys on me, I don't block them. No, you do not. Okay. You are going to down block or fire block in our system. Okay, that is somebody else's guy. That's either the guy past the tight end that the wing's going to get. That's the guy past the wing that we're going to kick out, and so on and so forth. So those are just good images of what our fire block looks like, because we're going to talk about that a lot. Okay, here's our rules. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these. You guys can see it. But the big thing that I would tell you is that our front 3 side guys are firing. Okay, one thing that we have changed is that we are going to allow our tight end to have a possible combo. And you won't see a lot of that because that's kind of something we developed this offseason after listening to some speakers. But overall, our wing, or who's ever outside the tight end, fire blocks, our tight end fire blocks, our play side tackle fire blocks. Our play side guard is going to pull in kick unless he hears an F call. Our center is reach to fire. Okay, if he has, we call these 1s, 2, he has a reach and a fire, he's going to have to call out what we would call F buck. Our backside guards pulls and turn up the hole. Our backside tackle, he is going to release inside and hit the first person you see in the hole down the field. He must secure the B gap. Okay, our split end is third level defender, halfback parallel to the sideline. Once you get the handoff, follow that backside guard. You can see all of our quarterbacks' footwork. And then our fullback, this is a big thing. You need to go from backside A gap to play side A gap. That is very important. Okay, that's why him and the center, they kind of work as like, like one person does one thing, the other's got to do the other. But you still have to take your path, and you have to go. So there's our rules for Buck. Okay, how does Buck look? All right, there's just an image of it. You can see this one's a pretty basic one, right? Everybody's down blocking. And the one thing I like about Buck is no matter what front I can draw up, and now there's times we get put in tough spots, but it works, right? The rules work. And you typically have everybody accounted for. Okay, here's another look how Buck looks. That's out of our spread. So again, this would be our right formation. That's why I showed it. This is our spread left. And you notice downfield, guys, when we're really hitting our Buck, we are getting people downfield and blocking third level, and we are springing our touchdown. Here's another way how Buck looks. That's our end over look. Okay, our tight end will be covered up there. All right, now F Buck. Okay, why did we develop our F Buck? Our center has two guys in the area that he is in charge of. Okay, we also sometimes, when you get down to the goal line, you get those guys that are so much close, you get the linebackers that are close to the line of scrimmage and they want to shoot the gaps. We wanted something where we just cut all that stuff off. So the neat part about this is, again, if you go back, and you look at our rules, okay, the only people that are going to change is our play side guard and our fullback, okay, and our center. He doesn't have to reach to fire really anymore. He's pretty much, he could have that happen, but he's probably going to fire on this. So again, everybody on the front side is the same. Our play side guard now fires, and our fullback is the kick out block. Okay, and our center really can just fire. We'll tell him reach to fire, but he can fire. Okay, and everybody else is the same. So here's how F Book would look. All right, I colored it in red. Okay, and his path should be tighter there with the fullback. A lot of you guys call this power, and it is, but we are still not comboing. The only place we would still allow for a combo is with our tight end and our wing. Some of you guys say, well, why not, coach? It's something you can do. This is just something that I feel like I've learned calling offense over the past, it's been years now as an offensive coordinator at some level, is we try to make it easy for the guys up front. I don't want to tell them when we're in Buck, it's all solo blocking, and then F Buck, it's combo, because a lot of times we make this call on the fly. We'll come up, our center will see, they'll go FFF or whatever his call is that week. All right, so here are some plays of just our Buck. Okay, this is actually to start the year. And you guys can see this is just an image of how our Buck looked. I'm obviously going to show you the big ones. They don't all hit like this. Okay. Kids are down there excited, celebrating. Miss those days. And there's from behind, and you can see, right, we got our pulling guards through, we got our down blocks. Our kids were really good of stepping flat down the line and going from there. Now this next clip, as you guys are waiting, is a pretty special one. This is going to be end over right, 22 F Buck. This is actually the touchdown that got us our first playoff win in over 20 years. And one of the most special parts about this is we came to the sideline. It was a 4th and 1 call, and our kids actually told me, "Coach, you're running 22 F Buck," and I just thought that was a really special moment, and something that you believe in, because this is our base play. That's one reason I talk about it. You watched our drill video, which is up on Coach Banstra's show. We do this every single day in our practices. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now. Hey, that's our base Buck. Everybody, a lot of people do that. Maybe you talk a little different ways. This is something that I think is unique to us. This is our Buck check with me system, okay? So as you can see in the picture down there, that is what we call our tight formation. Both guys are in a wing formation, okay? We can also go with a wing right or a wing left. If we go wing right, we just take our split end and move him out. and we go from there. So the way this would work, right? Imagine this on the picture, is that our quarterback would come up to the line. He would just check 22 or 28 Buck. Our wing then moves into a halfback position and we run the play. And I had a coach ask me about this, like, well, how do you do this so fast? Like the defense can react. We chose to go with a really fast cadence. So again, if I'm the quarterback, all he's going to do, guys, is come up and say, 922, 922. Okay. My halfback, then my left wing is going to move to a halfback position. And then our cadence is down, set, go. Okay. Now, obviously we can go on 2, we could go on down, we could go on set. Okay. But that is how we do our check system. One of the reasons we do a short snap count. Okay. So this is our tight formation that I was just talking about. And again, you can call it tight right and tight left. Typically when we're in tight, we're always going to wiggle or move a wing to the halfback position. Okay, even when we call waggle, for those of you guys that are wing T people, our belly, whatever it is. Okay, here's our wing right and our wing left formations. Again, they look very similar to right and left, or spread right and spread left. We just don't have anybody in the halfback position yet. All right, what is our check system based on? Okay, number one, okay, we are going to run at somebody that we think is really bad. Okay, and one of the reasons, guys, I went to this is, and I don't know if you guys are here with this, but obviously everybody scouts, right? And I've always scouted, and I started thinking to myself, well, what am I using this for, right? Because a lot of times, guys, what are we trying to come up with? We're trying to come up with the perfect scheme, right? We're trying to come up looking at how the defense aligns. What can we do? And early on, when I started calling offense, I said to myself, I really think it's matchups over scheme. If I can continually go at a defense's worst defender over and over and over again, I think in high school football, I'm going to have a lot of success. So that's one of the reasons we did this. Okay. So number one, we're going to run at somebody that from a scouting report, we feel is really bad. Okay. We are also going to run at somebody who we think are away from somebody who we think is really good, which is one of the reasons I have these two guys pictured. Number 42, he's a big D tackle that we ran away from, tried to for an entire game that went to NIU. And then down there on the bottom is a guy who's playing offensive line at Michigan State. Okay, we wanted to run away from them. Now, number 3, there are times we want to run against a certain front, right? So this week, we're like, the DNs, there's not really a difference, right? Let's run at the 3. Okay, or the outside linebackers, not a big difference. Okay, so let's run it to this front when they do this. And then sometimes, guys, I had an offensive line coach a couple of years ago. We were doing this check system in a game, and he just said to me, "Just run it right." Why? Because our best 2 linemen were over there, and they were having a good night. It didn't matter what front, but we did like still to check it, and I will tell you why. Okay, what does Buck check with me doing? I had a long talk the other night with a coach. It cuts down on slanting and angling the blow-up plays. If you are a wing T guy, you always line up in your base stuff all the time, you are going to get a lot of slanting and angling. And for my program, okay, the way that we do things, it is better for us to run less plays than to add a million different blocking schemes. So we thought that made it easier for us. It also makes the defense learn how to stop plays from guys not in their base positions, right? So a lot of defense, when they saw our right formation, right, the strong side linebacker would have responsibility. The will would have a certain responsibility, right? They'd be looking for waggle, trap, whatever, buck. Well, now you could switch those guys, right? Because the weak side linebacker could become the Sam, and the Sam can become the will, and there's a lot of issues. This is the other thing that I learned when watching the clinic, okay? It puts a lot of pressure on 15, 16, 17-year-olds that we're playing against, okay? I do not, as an offensive coordinator, have to call plays to beat you as a defensive coordinator. I have to call plays to beat the kids that you're coaching, okay? And this is a very simple way that I think that we can do that. It gets us to run our best play against the personnel in front that we want. We dictate things, how things go, okay? It's another thing I've learned from listening to a lot of clinics, like you as an offensive coordinator, you have to dictate things. This particular concept allows us to dictate. And then finally, we do have a set of plays, which I'll show you, where we move wings and we run other stuff. Because a lot of you are like, well, every time you move wing to halfback, you're running buck. Right. Okay, so we will do things, we'll wiggle the halfback, we'll run waggle, we'll wiggle, we'll run our belly, which is really a weak side lead to the fullback. And we call that wiggle. Okay, so we'll say like wiggle to right or wiggle to spread left. Okay, so again, I think it cuts down on slanting and angling, makes us move people around, helps us against those kids and making split decisions defensively. I mean, gets us to run the ball and dictate how we want things to go. Okay, so this is an example, guys, of running away from a stud. Okay, so this is actually a halftime adjustment. We scouted this team and we thought a kid was pretty good, and then all of a sudden we realized that a outside linebacker was much better than the other one, and he was tackling us all over the place. So we chose in the second half to run away from him. So you'll see my quarterback comes up, he calls the play, we're going to run away from the outside linebacker on the left. He even made an F call here late. That's a lot of stuff there you're getting coached up on that we've talked about. And this one goes in the end zone. Again, just like any clinic talk, guys, this does not happen every single time. Okay, we don't score every single play, but it's a clinic, and I want you to make sure that you think that I'm good, so I'm only going to show you the touchdowns. All right, so here we go again, just so you can see it again. We are in tight. Quarterback calls 922, Ralph. He even called an F call, and there we go. Okay, so that's running away from a stud. Okay. Here's another one. Okay, same kind of premise, same game, right? Okay, we're doing the same thing. Now we're going to the short side. Running away from a stud. Okay, and there we go. And again, look how fast it is, guys. These are checks. These are not us telling us. And how do we get here? We do this every single day at practice. So again, my quarterback just said it, down, set, go, and we're off. And that's just tight 28 buck. Tight is my favorite formation, guys. If I get two stud tight ends, I know you say a lot of it brings you in the box. To me, a tight formation, when you put an extra tight end on the field, it stretches you horizontally. When I can stretch you horizontally with good, really fast running backs that can hit seams in this kind of offense and trap and buck, man, I like it. Okay? Man, I like it. All right, here we go. This is another one, same game. Okay, and again, just so you can start to get the idea, this is our wing right. 22 buck, a lot of penetration there that we talked before. And our kid is off to the races there. Not a touchdown on that one. Okay, now, this is an example, guys, of a team that did a great job. They noticed when we came out in double tight, they gave us a front that we did not, we weren't prepared for. But what we told our quarterback is when you don't know what to do, check it to the right. Okay, so he comes up, sees a front he's not sure, so he checks it to the right, and off we go. Okay, very simple, very fast. I really think that's the biggest thing I want you guys to know. I mean, and this is just me. Again, you can do what you want with your cadence, okay? But for me, this allows us to check and not let people adjust, okay? This allows us to go fast. All right, and now this one, guys, is an example of us actually running at somebody that we scouted, that we wanted to run at. Again, this is our tight formation, buck check with me. Again, a very simple thing I think you can add to your offense and incorporate pretty quickly. And again, it doesn't have to be buck, you know. Like, for instance, guys, before I move ahead, we do this with trap. Like, there's certain times when we run around trap to the 3. And so we'll just always call trap to the 3. Or like if we're facing a 3-5 team, we want to run the trap to the bigger bubble. You know, or we want to run trap. We want to trap a certain 3 technique or whatever it is. Now, this example, okay, is where I've shown you a bunch of examples of us going buck check with me. Our wing moves the halfback. We go through our stuff and we run buck. Well, now we're going to wiggle and we're going to run waggle. Not sure why the sound is on there. Got a little West Aurora football sound there. So that was a wiggle with a waggle. Okay, so again, just so you can kind of see like how this all goes together. And now we're going to go wiggle and we're going to run belly. And again, those are plays for a different clinic, but I do want you to see, like, you know, because if you're watching this, like, man, coach, that's so predictable. Well, I mean, we do have other things that go with it, okay? So again, we're gonna wiggle. They think we're running 22 buck. We come back and we go with that. So let me just show you now without that annoying sound in the background. Okay, so now we wiggle. I think we're running 28 buck. And we go waggle. Pretty poor out, but again, that's a whole different clinic talk. I do have a whole thing on screens at some point, coach, if you want those, but that's for another day. This was our whole Buck Check With Me system. Feel free, guys. I have cut-ups of all this stuff if this film is not enough. I also have our entire playbook and some things we're doing. And I also wouldn't mind sitting down with you because we have some ideas of how we're going to incorporate this Buck out of our slot system. And even if just you have a base player like coach, how would you do a check with me system with this play? So thanks so much. Thanks again for having me, Coach Bandstra. Feel free to reach out to me via email or Twitter. Thanks.